guys, I'm Tony and I'm so excited to bring a cool training with an incredible guest today, all about helping you with your homeschool experience with your student. I hear a lot of frustration from families who are really struggling to keep their students learning and engaged during this time. So I have brought an incredible guest along to help me with this very, very relevant topic. So today we will bring you 5 game-changing tips to help you with homeschool success. Are you ready to see who I have here? 1, 2, 3.
Hey everybody! Thank you for inviting me to play with you today.
Oh yes, it is Dr. Jean, guys. And Dr. Jean, as it is your tradition, can we start with a welcome song?
We certainly can. I like you, there's no doubt about it. I like you, there's no doubt about it. I like you, there's no doubt about it. You are my good friend. You like me, there's no doubt about it. You like me, there's no doubt about it. You like me, there's no doubt about it. You are my good friend. And I always start with that song because I think, children just want to be accepted. They want to be loved. As crazy as this world is, the world keeps changing, but children are the same. They're the same they were when I was a little girl 70 years ago. They're the same they were hundreds of years ago. They want to be loved. They want to play and have fun, and they want to feel competent and capable.
Oh, Dr. Jean, that was beautiful. And you don't need an introduction because I'm sure everyone here knows who you are. If they don't, they will thank me later. But anyway, Dr. Jean is a mother, a grandmother, and a lover of children and the adults who teach those children. And among her many great successes and impacts and degrees in education, some of my favorite are her publications of books and songs that bring so much joy to the classroom. So, Dr. Jean, could you share a little more about yourself?
Well, I think that I just don't ever want to grow up just like Peter Pan. And I like children better than I like most grown-ups. I know children are real and they're fun. And I just, it's on my heart. We've gotten so far from where we need to be with children that we think it has to be a screen, and we think we have to buy something. It has to, and just get down on the floor, look them in the eyes, and connect with them. My mother never went to college, but she had more common sense than most people. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I started teaching, I was scared to death, and she said, honey, you just have to love them.
Oh,
and that's still so true.
Yes, that is so true. And what an incredible opportunity that we've been given to homeschool our children. That's something very unique.
Yeah, and you know what? I think by the time that this is all over, we're going to say, oh, man, I wish I could go back and do that again.
Yes, so true, Dr. It's so true.
It's just such a magic time to connect parents and children. And I see so many missed opportunities. The other day I was riding my bike, and the mother's riding her bike, and the kids in the carry on the back, and the child had a phone. When you're out riding a bike, you don't need to give your child a phone. That's when you talk, and you talk about nature, and you engage with them. And so I think, we're going to talk a little bit more later about turning that screen off and engaging with children. So I think it really is an opportunity for all of us as parents and teachers and human beings to connect with each other.
Amen. Absolutely. And you're right. We're going to get to one of those topics a little bit later in our training today. But first, you may agree with me. I think the very first step for parents or families, whoever is taking control of the homeschool situation, to find some empowerment and joy in what they're doing. So many teachers are just crazy about educating children, and that's because it's such a powerful way to impact someone. Dr. Jean, in their journey of finding that joy, can you share with us why you find so much joy in working with young children?
Well, because they're real and they're not fake. And you can see when you look at kids, you get immediate feedback. They're not trying to fool you. They either like it or they don't like it. You're either connecting with them or you're not making it with them. And that's one of the ways that we are human beings is by caring for others and giving ourselves to the others and not just thinking about ourselves all the time. And that's why when you are a teacher, and I'm just so thrilled now that people are beginning to see the value and the passion and how the teachers just, can you believe all the things teachers are doing for their children? Because we love them. We love them like they are our own children.
Yes, absolutely. There's so much joy to be found in working with kids. And I really hope that the people watching this can open their hearts and find that joy, because if they don't find the joy in what they're doing, they're just going to.
Yeah, if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. You just, and sometimes even as teachers, you have to fake it till you feel it. You pretend like you're having fun, and you're going to be a good teacher. You got to be part actor or actress, and that as a parent too, you got to fake it till you feel it. You start having fun with them and smile and be enthusiastic, and it's going to feed back to you.
Absolutely. So there's our step one completed, which is find empowerment and joy. And now let's get on to those 5 just game-changing tips, Dr. Jean.
Right.
Okay, so don't forget, guys, that all this training and all the advice Dr. Jean and I are offering, it comes with a free resource that you can download and use immediately to implement these ideas in your homeschooling. So tip number 1 is so important. That's why it's number 1, is that you need to create a schedule for your child, but don't forget that schedule can be very flexible. I am very, very attached to my classroom routines and schedule because it makes me feel productive and it makes me feel safe. And students need something that they can do each day to make them feel safe that's repetitive. So our suggestion here is to create a schedule for your day. So I know a lot of people are struggling in that area, so we're here to help. Dr. Jean, could you give your best advice for those people who are struggling to get their child or their students on a schedule?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you about this wonderful packet that Tony has created, and it's free. And she's got these little picture clues that you can use to help set up your daily schedule. A schedule gives children security. It helps them know what to expect, what's coming next. It doesn't mean boredom. It just is very comfortable for them to do that. And the picture clues, when you use those, they can say, oh, I got this, and I got this, and oh, I got this to do. And so it becomes a very visual way to help them know what is expected of them.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'll show them that right here. And this is in the free download. And there are so many cards. I forgot to count how many cards. It's editable, so you can add your child's name. And just as she said, this is flexible because we don't have to go by time slots. We can go by the tasks that we need to be completed. So my daughter, Kristen, the first thing she has to do in the morning is she has to get dressed. And then when she gets dressed, she comes to the ring and she flips it over. And it's kind of the equivalent to an adult to-do list, how we feel, accomplished when we check off
Right. And the good thing about what Tony's done is you can adapt to your child. Every child's different. Every age is different. Every parent is different. And so you take these and you make them work for you. And that's what's nice about the ring. You can put on the ones that work for you. Very personalized that way.
That wraps up tip number 1. Let's move on to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is to create designated learning spaces in your home. So Dr. Jean, can you tell us what those are and why they are important?
Well, as grown-ups, when we go different places, we act differently. When you go to a football game, you act one way. When you go to a musical concert, you act one way. When you go outside in your yard, you act one way. And the same way, even within your house, we do different things in different areas of our house. And I think by giving children a defined space in which to learn, it helps them mentally. When I come to this space, this is my job, this is what's expected of me. And it's different from being outside. And I just, one thing that you can do, and this is a small box, you would need a bigger box, but if you get a cardboard box and you cut the top off and one side, then you've got like a little study carrel. You can put this up on a desk, and they've got their little office. Call it their office. Another thing like that I've done in the classroom, if you take 2 file folders and tape them together and let your child decorate it, then this also can become an office that they can set up on the table. And you would adapt what's in the office to their age level. So the younger kids, you might have a number grid and alphabet letters. Some of your older kids, you might have the word wall, different things like that. But they put this up and they know this is what I'm going to do. It's, you know, it's like, and when I go outside, I put on my running shoes, and then I know it's time to exercise and go. And so different places that we are cause us to think differently and to behave differently.
Absolutely, Dr. Jean. I love those ideas, and teachers take note because we can definitely use these in the classroom as well. So let me give some tips for families in creating those meaningful learning spaces at home. So first of all, we definitely want to have an area that is quiet and free from distractions. So turn off the TV, put technology way out of sight, and shut a door if possible to keep out extra noise. Another thing is you definitely want to keep your supplies at hand. I know in times in my classroom when I've forgotten to prepare something, the moment you turn your back, you've lost their focus. So you can use these labels that we've created to label a caddy with all the things that you need, so it's there at hand and you don't have to get up. And that really helps in those learning spaces. And also another visual cue is just a sign. So we've created some signs that you can use and edit in your homeschool area to just give your student that extra reinforcement that this is what we're going to be doing in this space at this time.
Yeah, and even, you know, just to get a basket and put the crayons and the colored pencils and the tape and the school glue in the basket. These are your school supplies.
Yeah.
Or even just take their backpack that they used at school and put the school supplies in there. They don't use them other times in the day. That comes out when you're doing school.
Why have I not thought of that? That is
well, there you go.
So let's move on to tip number 3, which is to use a behavior management plan. I have to say that there were times in the classroom when I did not have these kinds of things in place, and it can really wreak havoc on whatever you're doing. So you definitely, if your child is lacking in focus and you can't seem, they're defiant and don't want to complete the task at hand, you definitely need some kind of behavior management plan or some tricks on your side. And I know in the classroom, I always use a positive behavior management system. Dr. Jean, could you tell us what a positive behavior system is and why it's important, especially for our younger students?
Well, I think all children, all of us respond to positive reinforcement. I mean, and it could be something verbal when somebody says, I like something, and you know, that's one way. People say, you know, there's different ways that you can do this with children, and it depends on your child. In fact, I remember one story of somebody's trying to get their child not to wet their bed at night, and finally they said, and they tried everything. They said, what will it take? And she said, $1 bill. And she never wet her bed after that. So I think sometimes you need to work with your child and, you know, what is the goal? Executive function seems to be a bigger predictor of life success and academic success than IQ. And what is that executive function? That is task initiation and completion. They can start something and complete it. That is delayed gratification. That is that they have that behavior chart and they have to fill in so many of these, and then they get the reward at the end, whatever you might choose that to be. So, you know, when you're doing these things, you are helping your child develop a life characteristic that they're going to use.
Oh, wow. Absolutely. And you are right. No size fits all, especially for little ones in the classroom. We have to be very creative and we have to kind of be investigators to see what exactly will work. But we have one way that you can try with your child. And this is something that I use in the classroom, sometimes with independent children or sometimes with the whole group. It just depends on the students and what's going on. But this is a sticker card, and a sticker card is a positive behavior management where you commend your students for doing things, that they should be doing, using good manners, sharing, completing tasks. And all that you do is you tell them the rules. So you let them know how this system works. And the rules are very important because students are very intelligent enough to, bypass our rules if we're not very firm with them. But each time your child completes a task or does something that they need to do, you can reward them with a sticker or a smiley face. And you can set up a goal for when they complete this, what kind of reward will they receive? And I've included 2 versions, one with 5 spaces for younger children and one with 10 spaces. And this is actually what I use in my kindergarten classroom. And as long as you're very firm with the rules and the expectations, it works really well to encourage positive behavior. So we've included that for you today.
Yes, and I think, that's some sort of support that parents need, because you and I went to college and we learned these things. It's like I know nursery rhymes and jump rope rhymes, but I wouldn't know how to fix an electrical wire or something like that. We all have different trades that we know, and so that's what's great now about, especially what you're doing, Tony, is you're sharing some of the tricks of our trade, things that we know, with parents who might not know these things and might not have these skills.
So let's move on to tip number 4, which is utilizing brain breaks. And I have really outdone myself today because I have brought you the queen of brain breaks to tell you about brain breaks. So Dr. Jean, for those that don't know what a brain break is, can you explain that to us and tell us why it is important to incorporate those during our learning day?
Well, I think that the reason I've always been so passionate about brain breaks is because you can probably tell I'm a little bit hyper. And I always needed brain breaks. So I started teaching in 1969 before we had any of the brain research. But in between my different small groups, I would have the kids stand up and we would jump up and down, or we'd sing a song, or we'd balance on one foot. Just because I needed it, and I found out that they needed it too. And as I've journeyed through my career over 50 years, I've, good teaching is good teaching, and good research is something that you go, oh, I knew that. It just makes sense to you. But that's what's great about the brain research. It validates all of these things that we've always believed in as educators: hands-on learning, letting children move. And so a brain break can be something as simple as standing up and jumping in place 25 times. It can be a song. It can be, patty cake. If you go to my blog, drjeanandfriends.blogspot.com, I've got tons of brain breaks that you can do with the kids. They don't cost any money. Even just balancing, having children balance on one foot and then balance on the other, balance on tippy toe. Balancing is so good for the core and for the brain. So if you want a brain break, go to my blog, go to my website. I've got lots of them for you. And Tony's in the back of the Homeschool Survival Kit. She's got links to a lot of my videos that you can do for brain breaks.
Absolutely. So basically, a brain break is a little break you take between your tasks to give your student a break and a chance to kind of revitalize before they go on to the next thing. And in my classroom, that looks like about a 20-minute span of work and then a brain break. So the younger your student, the more often they'll need those. Let's move on to tip number 5. And tip number 5 is to schedule screen time. Now, I'm going to tell you guys that certain points in my life, I find myself doing a complete social media binge. I've been sitting there scrolling, with no purpose for hours. And when I finally finish, I feel horrible. I feel confused, disoriented. So that is why it's important not only for children, but for adults, but for us to schedule that screen time and be intentional about it. So Dr. Jean, can you give us your best advice about why we should be thoughtful and intentional in our screen time with our little ones?
Exactly. It's become so easy to hand children an iPad or a phone instead of talking to them. If I go out to eat and I see kids on their devices or with their parents' phone, it breaks my heart. I just want to go over there and grab it away from them. And I think, we've been marketing has, oh, if you get your kids this device, they'll be smart. If you, and my big thing is, and I think after all of the quarantine and everything is over, my theme song is going to be "Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing, Baby." I mean, kids need hands-on. They need real interactions. I think if parents wrote down the amount of screen time that their child has for a day, just write down, 15 minutes here, whatever it is, and you added it up, you would be shocked how much time a child is spending in front of a screen. And most of the experts say with young children, 30 minutes to an hour a day, and that includes TV and all this other stuff. So I think it's all about balance. And I'm not one of these that says no screen time at all, because that's the world that we're living in.
Right.
But we also have to remember that children's brains are the same that they've been for thousands of years. That brain needs to move, it needs to explore, they need to talk, they need to interact. And so that's why you've just really got to be so careful about the amount of time. And it's easy. As a parent, it's easy. Oh, let me give them this and they'll be quiet. Leave me alone. Again, it's that missed opportunity that, when they're teenagers, you're not going to have as much control over them. But when they're little, you can make those decisions.
You're right. And you're right. It's so easy to take their boredom and give them that, because we kind of feel guilty when kids get bored, but really out of boredom comes great creativity and ideas, which are.
I love that you wrote that. And, I'm working on a book now. And one of the things about play that I feel so important is bring boredom back. That's if they're not bored, how are they going to be creative? How are they going to learn to, use their imaginations? So.
Absolutely. And some other things I'd like to say to parents is that it can also be just completely ruining your homeschool day if your child is completely obsessed about when they're going to get that screen time back again. So that's why we've included a technology time card on the schedule. And I would also say just make sure you're thoughtful about when you place this in your day, because you don't want your child to be rushed through a task, and you don't want them to be give them a screen and then they're defining and giving it back to you to complete a different task. So just be thoughtful in that. And I'd also say don't ever interchange playtime and screen time, because play is absolutely the work of children. Don't you agree, Dr. Jean?
Absolutely. And play doesn't take place in front of a screen.
Okay, Dr. Jean, I hate to do this, but we're going to wrap it up. You are just a well of knowledge. But before we do, I want to ask you a thoughtful question, okay? If you could wave a magic wand and change anything in education today, what would it be?
Oh, I think I would get rid of assessments and tests, because I think we become so focused on a number and a test score that we forget that precious little child. And there's so many ways for children to be wonderful, and I think we forget that sometimes. So
let me ask you before we jump off, where can my viewers connect with you?
Well, you can go to my website, drjean.org, drjean.org, or probably the best place is my blog, drjeanandfriends.blogspot.com, because anything that I've mentioned that you want to know more about, if you put it in the search engine, you'll be able to pull it up and get that information.
Yes, and she is a YouTube sensation. Don't let her lie.
You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Yeah. Listen, y'all, I am not an actress, and I was reading something about how you're supposed to put on makeup and look. No, this is what you get. I'm 73 years old. I've been in this business a long time. I care about children. I care about families. I want the world to be a better place, and that's why I do what I do. I'm just me, and so I really feel blessed that I'm able to pass these things on to you. So it is time to say goodbye to all my friends. It is time to say goodbye to all my friends. It is time to say goodbye. Give a smile and wink your eye. It is time to say goodbye to all my friends. Goodbye, friends. God bless you.
Okay, guys, don't forget to grab all the resources we've talked about in the Homeschool Survival Kit. I will leave a link in the description where you can find that and implement these ideas as soon as today. Thank you, Dr. Jean. Bye.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay.